Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I hope everybody's doing well on an overcast Wednesday. And happy Valentine's to all of you out there. And, I've been playing with this all week, and, I'm not being a cheapskate. But, all you need to do is you guys just walk up to your most everybody has an office in their home or a computer, and get you a clean sheet of paper, and go ahead and make you a big heart. Draw you a big heart right here, just like that. And then go ahead and put you a sword through it, whatever, right here, a sword through it. Make it look like this. Like this. You got your heart and a sword through it. And then write, "Be my Valentine." And make sure that you say, "I love you. I love you." And you've got your personal Valentine that doesn't cost you $10, and it comes from your heart. Just think, while you're doing this, you're thinking of your Valentine and and that heart. So that is a special Valentine this morning, and an easy one to do. And also, most of the time you guys take the shower first. At least I do at my house, and of course you got a lot of the mirrors are sort of after the shower, the mirrors are sort of in a way where you can say, "I love you." Do that also this morning. And let that Valentine of yours know how much you think about her. And we might take them for granted sometimes, but boy, what would we do without them? I'm telling you. And I'm very lucky, and it's very important for me to show my affection this morning on Valentine's Day. And I hope everybody out there is having a good time early this morning. And of course, the temperatures are going to be very, very nice today. Right at 70 degrees is expected today and really the rest of the week. So it's going to be good weather. Might get a couple of a little bit cooler temperatures in the morning, but by Saturday and Sunday there could be 80 degrees in temperatures out there. So going to be very conducive for outdoor activity. Troy baseball starts Friday night. Good morning. You're on Today in LA. How you doing?
My name is Bud Laverne. How you?
Bud, where you been, Bud?
I've just been hanging low, trying to stay out of the way. Listen, hoop season, basketball season, it's in full swing.
Well, I know this. Charles Henderson of Troy won a huge game last night. And they're heading to the regions in Dothan. That's big honor for them, isn't it?
It sure is, and I think if I'm not mistaken, they'll play Eufaula.
Oh boy, and that's gonna be a tough one. And the girls are probably gonna play Eufaula too. The girls are going too, and
that's correct. That is correct. So you got Eufaula and Charles Henderson for years, and athletics has had a good, I think, clean, wholesome rivalry.
That's right.
And for them to play each other in the sub regions now, or regions, I think in Dothan will be good matchups on both sides, the boys and the girls.
Well, have you remembered to get Valentine's out to all your friends in Luverne?
Fixing to. It's a little early.
I told you.
We're gonna do something.
I showed you how to do it, though, didn't I?
You did.
Real personable.
Give kudos to Coach Avery Johnson in Alabama for their nice little win last night.
Well, they're sure not pretty, but they know how to, they finally found a way how to win, don't they?
Well, here's the thing about it, Mike. They're beginning to gel a little bit. They're beginning to play together. You know, there's 351 teams in Division I basketball, and the experience ranking for Alabama is 348. They're a young team, very young.
Exactly.
And they just beginning to gel. I know they're early in the or late in the first half. Colin Sexton got, I think, either 3 or 4 fouls and had to sit out. But you know, Dante Hall from here in Luverne has really come on the last 5 or 6 ball games.
Oh boy, he has.
I feel like right now he's signing his paycheck.
You're right. He's on his way to the big time. You're exactly right.
I think so, and they got a big game this weekend at Kentucky. Then they hit the road next week to play Auburn, and that'll be 2 big matchups. And Auburn and Kentucky play tonight in Auburn, and Kentucky's on a little downslope right now, and not as talented as they have been. And I just think that Kentucky could very well go on a 2-game losing streak.
No question about it. I expect Auburn to win that game, and hopefully it'll be a sellout. I was surprised last night in Tuscaloosa. Looked like a lot of empty seats. I don't know why. What's the deal there?
Well, I don't know. You know, here's the thing about it, and it's been that way really even when Coach Newton and Coach Sanderson's there. Bama's went on a midweek. After winning big games, they went on midweek slumps, and I felt like most of the fans just felt like that. You know, they play in LSU, may
That's
not
right.
be up, but things may change in the next couple, 3 weeks. I hope so. But even with Coach Sanderson, it was tough to fill them up during the middle of the week. It's just that, but you play on Saturday in Coleman Coliseum. They're gonna turn out this time of year because really there's nothing else to do. And
well, if you think about it, you know, it holds 15,000 people, 15,400 to be exact, and Auburn's new gym holds just 9. Alabama basketball's a bigger program at Alabama, wouldn't you say?
yeah, and I'm gonna tell you the reason I felt like that. The Auburn built the small arena. You know, a few years ago, they had the big arena, and they would always pull a curtain because they wouldn't fill
That's
it
right.
out, and they were kind of on a downslope in basketball 3 or 4 years ago.
You're right. It held something like 13,000, and then
right.
they put the curtain
and
up.
they being able at the time to put about half of that to capacity in the seats, and you know, they would pull the curtain and all that stuff, and those powers to be decided when they built the new arena just to go to a 9 or a 10,000, and which I think is great. It puts you closer to the court. It gives you more of a feel of being there on top of the court, and I just think a small arena like that is really good.
I think the old arena is still there. East Coliseum is still there, and it holds close to 13,000, doesn't it, or something like that?
That's exactly right, and I feel like that's basically why they built that arena as small as they did. Of course, now I still hear rumors that when all the FBI investigations over with, that come April, that Bruce Pearl will not be the coach at Auburn. I keep hearing scuttlebutt about that in basketball, which
I've heard
would be
that
a shame.
too.
But you know, he just apparently cannot stay above water.
And another thing, you know, some of a good personal, probably a personal friend of yours, Chuck Person, is run into some problems, and but you know what? Usually, most of these things that these assistant coaches do, the head coach knew all about it, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I just don't see any way around it. And speaking of Chuck, you know, he's from Brantley, Alabama.
Yeah.
And I see his old high school coach every Wednesday. Coach Earl Henderson, Coach Chuck in high school.
Yeah, that's right.
And I see him every Wednesday. And this is really aimed at Coach Henderson, and of course all the Auburn fans and faithful. I know it's a big deal.
Yeah, I had somebody talking about Coach Henderson the other day. What a great guy he was, and what a great role model he was to these persons and all these great players that come out of Brantley.
Oh, absolutely. You can't find a better individual to do the right thing as a coach, as a human being, a good Christian man, a family man, and we need more role models like him in our school system and in the community in general. He's a fine person, but he coached Chuck, and but you know, Coach Tony Starworth come in behind him, and that's where Brantley really made their mark in basketball was when Coach Tony.
And you know, you're exactly right, and you know, all they had to do is just lead them in the right direction, and they had the talent to beat anybody in the state. Don't you agree?
I do, and back when Auburn Wiley and Stick and that bunch played for Coach Starworth, you know, Coach Starworth got his high school upbringing and coaching ability from J.F. Shields, which is another
J.F. Shields.
And 2A basketball. And
well, in fact, J.F. Shields had a guy that came out of J.F. Shields High School was one of the greatest basketball players to ever live. Isn't that right?
You're exactly right. And when he got out of high school and out of college, he signed with the Atlanta Hawks.
Name was John Drew. Is that right?
John Drew, absolutely.
And of course, he went on and played in the pros. But he came out of what's that little town at J.F. Shields? What's the name of that little town?
Beatrice, Alabama.
Beatrice, Alabama. Only Bud would know that. Beatrice, Alabama, and went on to be one of the great players of all time.
He did. I think he played for some little college that you hardly ever hear out of North Carolina. And I cannot think of a college he played for, but he was a great basketball player. And there's been several. Listen, I cannot think of the coach that coached over at J.F. Shields when Starworth was at Brantley.
But he was a legend, I know that.
Yes, sir, he sure is. And Brantley and J.F. Shields back in the day would have some great basketball games. They play like 2 times a year, and just had some great basketball. And
all right, you know, to get away from that, I want to mention also Goshen won last night, so they're in the district tournament. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm thinking they've got to go all the way to Mobile, don't they? How does that work?
I think Goshen's got to go to Montgomery. Let's see right
Montgomery.
here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they in the southern. Yeah, but I go to Montgomery.
Okay, good.
And they'll play Keith.
Yeah. Charles Henderson, you know, very in a very low profile way is 17-7, and they beat a good Jackson team last night, 55-54, and they're heading to Dothan to play in the regional the super region, or super regionals.
Right.
And they play Eufaula. The boys play Eufaula at 1:30 on Monday, and the girls play Eufaula at noon. Boy, that's going to be a great day for Charles Henderson basketball, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, yes, sir. That's exactly right.
I mean, Charles
Henderson.
Henderson.
To go to Dothan, is that correct?
That's right, but you know, I'm making my plans right this second. I'm heading down there for that. If you're a Troy fan, you got 2 teams going up against one of the better programs around in Eufaula.
You're exactly right. And all you got to do is hit 231 South and be there in about an hour and a half.
That's right.
That's no big jump right there if you love basketball.
No question about it. And, of course, Bud's calling from Luverne this morning. Bud, things going good? You been watching the Olympics? What you been doing?
I'm not. Listen, and I don't mean to be unpatriotic, but I have never been an Olympic summer or winter.
Really? See, now, I like watching some of the summer events, you know, like the running, you know, the sprints and
the track and field and the baseball and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like that. I like the track and field part, and you know, usually in the summer. I mean, for the Summer Olympics. But you're right. I can't get into ice skating. No, you're right.
I can't get into. You know, I could probably watch a little basketball, but with the things going on here locally and college-wise, I'd rather spend my time watching all that and going through that. So
no question about it.
An Olympic watcher.
All right, Bud. To give these folks a little idea, with the sub-class, the regionals, and all these regional sites. One of them is in Dothan. That's where Troy's going, at the Civic Center. The Central region is at the Acadome. The Northeast region is at Jacksonville State, and the Northwest region is at Wallace State of Hanceville, and that's where the regions are going to be. You know, Troy had that region at one time, and some of the people at Troy didn't want to have to fool with it because it was going to be some work, and we lost that region to Dothan.
Yeah, I remember that. And I also remember that the Central region, I think, was played there in Troy, and at the time, South Alabama would hold the Southern region in Mobile.
That's right. People had to go all the way to Mobile, and I think Goshen might have been one that had to go all the way down there. And
that's right. I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Highland Home had a pretty good, decent there for about 4 or 5 years run. They even made the state tournament one year in Birmingham. And we had to go, the years that we played, we were at that time in the Southern region, and instead of going to Troy or Mobile, we'd have to go, Montgomery, we went to Mobile a couple of years, and then we got lucky enough to go to the tournament Final Four in Jefferson Coliseum there, I think, in Birmingham.
Yeah. The Final Four in the Southern region is Faith of Mobile and Wilcox Central. Wilcox Central 22-5, Faith 23-9, and then wait a minute, that's not right. Okay, the Charles Henderson winner. Charles Henderson will play Eufaula. Eufaula's 26-9. Charles Henderson is 17-7, I think, something like that, and they'll be playing. But of course, it's the Final Four, you know, and of course the girls, Charles Henderson girls are just out of sight. But they got a big girl that's just. But they go up against Eufaula, 27-4. Charles Henderson 28-4. And then the other bracket has Faith of Mobile and Jackson. Pretty looks like Charles Henderson could. Let's see there. No, Jackson's already gone, but the Jackson girls are still in it. But it's going to be to me, it's one of the great, if you love basketball, it doesn't get any better than this.
It sure does not. You're exactly right at that. And I just love high school and college basketball. I'm not really into pros, but
yeah,
right, it's the time of year now where you should get excited if you're a basketball fan and go to some of these games. You were talking the other day about going to Jackson. Been to Jackson many times, and when you gave directions, you nailed it on the head. When you the way I would go would be to hit Greenville, hit the interstate through Evergreen, then hit 84 at Evergreen, and go up through Ripon and
go across that big high bridge. Goes over the Alabama Tom Bibby.
Yep, sure do. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Right there. What used to be the old Union Camp Putwood.
But you sort of gotta want to go there, don't you agree?
You do, and then like you said, you get to Grove Hill and take a left, and
that's right.
About an hour or so you got in Jackson, Alabama.
Well, if you think about it, you got Jackson, Grove Hill, and Thomasville, really within 10, 15 miles of each other, so they make up a town probably almost of 15,000 people, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you're exactly right.
If you added all those towns together,
That's exactly right. But listen, I need to run. It's a good day to be above ground, and happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. And like you said, if you're a basketball fan, it couldn't be a better week or two coming up than what we got going on right now.
Well, Bud, we look forward to hearing from you, and one of these days I'm gonna get over there and pick you up. We're gonna go for a ride.
We'll do that. You come on anytime.
Thank you, friend.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good week.
All right, thank you. That's Bud from Luverne, and gosh, what a great job he does calling in. Of course, this show is brought to you by First National Bank of Troy Brundage, with their main office on Main Street in downtown Brundage since 1904, and of course they've got a new branch office on Park Street in Troy. Very convenient to the university, and of course a great place to bank. Troy Bank, First National Bank of Troy Brundage. Of course, we've got a lot going on. I want to say Hoss Daddy's got a detail place on Montgomery Street. I call it Montgomery Street. Some people call it different. Some people call it North 3 Night Street, but it's Brundage Street, and of course they do a great job of detailing. Want to mention Cinco Drugs, located just off the square in downtown Troy, and we appreciate it. And I don't think Charles would have any problem with this. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Be Kind to Joe Watson Day. Joe and Evelyn Watson today, as that great couple celebrates the 50 years of being a drugstore, Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy, celebrating 50 years with one of the best people I think I know in this community is Joe Watson, and a good picture and a good article today. Joe and Evelyn Watson are celebrating 50 years of ownership of Bird Drugs today on Valentine's 1968 when it all started. And Joe Watson told me this yesterday that Evelyn Watson's dad was the owner of the Bird Drugs for many years prior to Joe taking over in 1968. Of course, Joe and Evelyn met each other in college at Auburn, and hey, they've been together ever since. Let's take a call here. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Morning.
Mike Amos calling in from Birmingham this morning. Mike, Joe and Evelyn Watson celebrate 50 years of ownership at Bird Drugs, and hey, the best milkshake in the world has been made there since 1940. That drugstore has been there since 1940.
That's my favorite of all time. Of course, I'm pretty strange and like to enjoy one for breakfast every now and then. But
and I asked Joe. I said, Joe, how did you get along with Mr. Bird? And of course, Mr. Bird owned it prior to Joe owning it, and of course that was Evelyn's father. He said, I love that man like he was my own daddy, and of course had a great rapport. And of course Joe Watson has had that big smile on his face ever since, and one of the nicest people you'll find anywhere. And I self-proclaim Joe and Evelyn Watson Day in Troy, Alabama on Today in L.A. And I'd love to have them to come in one day and tell us the story. And of course, Evelyn, old lifelong Troy resident, and of course they lived in that beautiful antebellum home over on North 3 Night Street for many years, and it was no longer there because the fraternity bought it and accidentally burned it down. Mike, what's going on?
Not much. Just calling in. Was basically reading about Alabama's win last night against LSU. The kid from Louverne's playing phenomenal right now.
Oh yeah. He's
10 rebounds, and he's really got a chance now, the way he's played this year, to maybe be drafted in the NBA draft, which I never really thought would happen.
No question about it.
He's really developed into a good player.
Yeah, no question about it. Of course,
he shoots about 74% from the field, which is unheard of. But I'd say about every other play he dunks the ball when he scores.
Yeah, no question about it. He's a power inside. I want to mention a couple of things this morning, Mike, before we get going. City of Brundage lost a wonderful, wonderful lady in Ronnie Mably, who worked so much, gave so much of her time to the city of Brundage, and she passed away. And it will be her funeral, I think, is going to be on Friday. And of course, Ronnie Mably, Mike, you've heard of Ronnie Mably and David Mably, two pretty good golfers. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Of course, a lot of people think that Ronnie Mably is the best golfer to ever come through Pike County, Alabama, and this part. And of course, one of the great guys, and works with Troy Bank and Trust. And of course, Ralph Waldo Emerson said the purpose of life is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. And that was what Janie Treadwell had to say about the great Delatha Mably. Two great people, Janie Treadwell and Delatha, did many things together. People like Dixie Sheehan and so many of her friends in the Brundage community. And of course, Delatha had a lot to do with some all these great things that have been happening in Brundage for a long time. And again, our hearts and our prayers go out to the great Delatha Mably. What a great citizen she was of the city of Brundage for so many years. At this time, I hope everyone out there that knows Bert Fridlin will pray for him today. Bert's real sick. Hopefully he's in Birmingham at UAB. Of course, he was very well attended here in Troy, but has been moved hopefully to Birmingham. I think they got that done. And of course, a great guy, very instrumental guy to me, and Bert Fridlin. Mike, we got a great guest on our show today. We've got Mark Smart, the head baseball coach at Troy University, and we're excited about him being on our show today. I want to mention also Charles Henderson basketball, Mike. Monday's going to be a big day in Trojan basketball, as both teams, the boys and the girls, will be playing in Dothan at the Civic Center. The girls at 12 o'clock on Monday, and the boys at 1:30. And both games will be against the Eufaula Tigers. It don't get any better than that, does it?
No, I mean, that's going to be really exciting. I mean, the men's team's really played well this season, so great job by Shelby Tuck. And, of course, Denisa Jones continues her dominance. The only problem is if they don't win a state championship, they don't have a good season. So it's a lot of pressure for those girls at Charles Henderson High School. It's either win it all or you're disappointed.
Yes, no question about it.
Four with a minute left to win the state championship last year, I believe.
Yeah, no question. And, of course, this is a great Charles Henderson team and a very good Eufaula team. Charles Henderson, Troy and Auburn play softball today. Yeah, that is huge. And, of course, Mark Smart's here. And, hey, he'll be sitting right there watching because his daughter's one of the coaches at Troy. And we'll talk about that, the girls softball team at Troy. And going against Auburn at 5 o'clock this afternoon. And, ladies and gentlemen,
how's the weather looking, Troy? It's going to be
well, I think it's going to be fine. I don't think they're expecting any rain. What do you think, Mark?
Good report.
Good report. It should be good weather here. And let me tell you this: it doesn't get any bigger anywhere than this game today. If you loved softball and you're a big college softball fan, you just don't get any bigger than this one. Auburn is 6-0. They have yet to be scored on this year, Mike. And if Troy could score on them, that'd be quite a feat. But now, what's Troy's record now, Mark? Huh?
3-0.
See, Troy is 3-0. So, and we mentioned this yesterday, and when Mark gets up here, we'll reiterate it. One of the best facilities for girls softball in the entire country, wouldn't you say, Mark? One of the Mike, it's become one of the top venues in the country, and they don't have a name for it yet, do they?
Softball complex.
Troy softball complex. We're gonna take it.
I might drop down today and try to sell parking on Gibb Street right there across the street.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back with Troy University head baseball coach Mark Smart right after this.
The new Smokehouse Pizza from Little Caesars is our first pizza with 3 smoked meats. So we got barbecue champion Big Mo Quezon to test it out. 8-hour smoked brisket.
Certified beefified.
10-hour smoked pulled pork.
Certified hoggified.
Applewood smoked bacon.
Certified baconfied.
Drizzled with tangy barbecue sauce plus a Smokehouse seasoned crust.
Certified smokified.
The new Smokehouse Pizza. Only $9 and only at Little Caesars.
If you've had an accident or just want a new look for your vehicle, come see us at Troy Paint and Body, where we do it right the first time. Our staff has more than 100 years combined experience and can handle repairs and paint work on any make or model. We also offer a lifetime guarantee as long as you own your vehicle. Now that shows we stand behind our work. And our 24-hour towing service means we're here when you need us. So come see us at Troy Paint and Body, located on South Brundage Street in Troy beside the post office. Troy Paint and Body, where we may meet by accident, but you'll be glad we did.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Here's some Napa know-how for you. Your local Napa Auto Parts store in Troy is under new ownership with an all-new fully stocked store. Big deal, you say? Big deal, we say. Like the ownership, the store has a new look, too. We're still delivering the same Napa quality and know-how, but we've increased our inventory and are committed to helping you find the parts you need when you need them. So come check us out. We've got the right part at the right price at the right time.
Know-how, Napa know-how. In the big leagues, but Chase certainly.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Pike County Ford on the bypass right here in Troy. And you talk about a dealership's being good to the athletic program at Troy. I think they told me the other day that right now Troy's using 3 of their vehicles.
They've been great, Mike. You know, the thing about Troy, we have so many people that are good to athletics and the university. And one of the very best things about living here in Troy is the partnerships in the community. You mentioned earlier the Charles Henderson basketball teams. They both won the sub-region games, going to the regional tournament. We're kicking off. Softball's in full gear. A lot of things going on, but you got so many people that are invested in Troy University. It really makes working for the athletic department a wonderful thing.
Well, Martin Smart and I, ladies and gentlemen, go way back. So if you hear me talk about the old days, listen, I remember when he came to Troy out of Atlanta, Georgia. I remember his mama and his daddy. I can see them sitting in the stands right now.
Boy, they love Troy. We lived in a suburb area of Atlanta. My dad had a job that was kind of worked downtown area. Yeah. But both my parents were raised in smaller towns. My mom in Heard County, Georgia, and my dad in the Valley, West Point, Georgia. Yeah. So when I came to Troy, they were all about being around the small town and the community, and they fit right in here. And easily one of the few best decisions I've ever made coming to Troy back when I was a college junior. And I came in at a time where the program was well established. Coach Riddle had won many, many games, and then I was fortunate to be on the 2 teams that got him the championship. Mike, but as you know and you've seen, he probably had a couple teams before I ever got here that might have been good enough to win that tournament, the World Series, but things didn't go their way.
Exactly right.
So I was lucky to be on those 2 teams.
You came here in a time where everybody wanted to go to Troy to play. Not Alabama, not Auburn. Everybody wanted to go to Troy, and Chase Riddle could have just a certain number of players.
That's very true. College baseball was a little different back then, Mike, and I say it in this way. Division I baseball, although it was a higher level, they didn't recruit like they do today, where they're targeting guys all over the place. It was a regional type thing. You didn't go outside the region very much. Our roster was littered with Alabama, Georgia, Florida guys. And once you got here and met Coach Riddle, that's where I want to play. That was an easy thing.
So let's go to our phones. I don't know if Mike gonna put you on hold. I'll come right back to you. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. with Coach Mark Smart.
Hey, Mike, it's Will Matthews. How you doing this morning?
Will Matthews. We got Troy head baseball coach Mark Smart on our show this morning. Of course, Will's calling from Dothan or Ozark this morning.
Actually, I'm on the Troy University Highway between Dothan and Ozark.
Oh, okay, I got you. And, of course, Coach Smart and baseball team opens their season this Friday against UT Martin. We have a lot of Ozark folks that come to the ball games.
Ozark's a good baseball town. Skipperville's won the state championship about 10 times, and it's a pretty good baseball town.
I'm sure you know it well, don't you?
Well, that's a storied program, led first by legendary coach, Hall of Fame coach Earl Miller, and now his son Drew, who was a great player both at GW Long and Troy as the head coach. And Drew's done a terrific job following his dad. We've got a freshman in the program from Skipperville, Mackenzie Hicks. So we're very familiar with that program. Coach Miller, Drew, is close to our program because he played here. Yeah. So I think it's 10 or 11, maybe 11 state championships.
Carroll High Ozarks had some great teams. I remember all the way back with Joe Kelly and that bunch. And
oh yeah.
And but of course, they've always been very competitive. What's going on, real quick?
Not much. Headed to the office. It's Valentine's Day. You need to tell your wife Happy Valentine's Day. Don't forget her.
I've already done that, Will. I'm ahead of you, bro.
Yeah, and look, and look, this is the most personable way is right here. Just draw you a big heart and stick an arrow through it and say, "Be my Valentine." And it costs a lot less than $10.
That's right. That's right.
Will, I know you wish you had a Valentine. Do you have a Valentine out there, Will?
Oh, I've always got one or two.
Careful now.
Well, we'll catch us tomorrow, man. I appreciate you calling and
good luck to the baseball team. I tell you, I really like your field.
That's a great facility. I appreciate you saying that, Will.
That is the neatest field, and I like that right field wall thing. That is, and I went to a couple of games up there and watched them knock them off that wall. That's pretty neat.
It's a very unique, very unique field, Will. That's true. And the field's been there for many, many years. We redid it a few years ago and brought in some unique things about it.
So, that grass is sure green.
Yeah.
Boy, it's beautiful. That grass,
I work hard at that grass every day, Mike. It's a chore, I promise you.
Now, I don't know how many it's getting to be more and more because Troy's had such good success, but you have people drive in from all over the country to see your field to try to make a decision on.
We do, and many other baseball teams have gone to.
Y'all have sold that field to a lot of people.
We have, and it's a win for a school our size, Mike, because of the cost on the front end are high, but the long-term maintenance is great.
In fact, Will, there's been teams from Ozark and Dothan and Troy and Andalusia and Montgomery that have actually called you on the phone and say, "Coach, our field is wet. We can't play. Can we come down and play on a Riddle pace?"
We've had a few playoff games through the years where the rain was so bad they had nowhere to play, and they would call, and if we weren't playing, we would try to accommodate them. So that's a unique feature that we have. Yeah, it certainly is.
When they built that, Will, a lot of people say, "Oh gosh, the city of Troy just put all that money in to help." Build that program. And I think Bobby Pierce or whoever it was at the time told the mayor that said, "Hey, it'll pay for itself over and over and over again." This field, Riddle Pace Field, has brought thousands of baseball teams and players from all over the country to play on that field.
We use it all summer.
Spend the night in our hotels and eat in our restaurants.
We use it all summer long. We have events going on, kids coming in from all over the region. And you mentioned it, Mike. You've got hotel stays. You've got gas for vehicles. You got restaurant use. Shopping downtown.
The picture show.
So there's a lot of things that have helped return that revenue in the city's favor. And I think if you were to ask anyone involved, they would agree that it was a good investment when they decided to do that.
But you're right, Will. This is baseball country all the way down to the. I go all the way down from Mariana, Florida.
All the way in the Panhandle. All the way through the Wiregrass into the Panhandle. Over in the eastern side of Georgia. This has been a great baseball area for a long time.
I was looking.
Let me ask Coach a question. How many scholarships are y'all limited to?
Well, it's complicated to explain, but basically we can offer partial scholarships, and we can have 27 players on athletic scholarship. Not nearly any of them are getting a full scholarship. It's not built that way.
And I just cannot understand that.
We've never been able to make any headway in that, Mike.
Because basketball gets 15 scholarships. Girls softball probably gets 15.
They get a little bit more than we do, and we make the most of it. But here's what I would say: fair or unfair, every Division I team in the country has the same rule. We're not getting slighted there, and everybody's equal. But the baseball player doesn't get some of the same benefits that the basketball, football, volleyball, some other sports that get a full scholarship.
Some of them don't even get dining.
No, very few. We have to spread it out and give them a percentage of a scholarship.
Isn't that sad, Will?
Mike, I'll tell you what's unbelievable. Vanderbilt's got one of the top baseball programs in the country.
You know, he's a Vanderbilt graduate.
And their tuition, just the tuition at Vanderbilt is $43,000 a year. That doesn't include room and board or books or anything else.
They find out now they can still get their academic. Most all your kids are on academic scholarships.
Some of them are, but Vanderbilt and schools like Vanderbilt will. I'm not sure how they do it. I promise you, these kids. When you've got a $40,000 plus tuition bill, and there's several around the country that are good programs. A school like Rice is similar with high cost of school. Yeah. So those kids are getting, 30, 40, 50% of a scholarship. They're having to shell out a lot of money to get that education, but they make it work somehow, some way. And, of course, you mentioned Vanderbilt. They've been one of the, premier programs in the country the last 10, 15 years for sure.
They won the national championship 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. They did, and they've had great success since Coach Coleman has been there. He's been there about 12 years now. He's an outstanding coach.
Well, and let me tell you this now. They were led by a guy that Coach here knows his mama, his daddy, his grandmama, his granddaddy, Cooter Swanson.
Yeah, Cooter's boy Dansby was the shortstop on their national championship team. Will, and he's a wonderful young man. He's with the Braves now.
He was the number one pick.
His mom and dad, he was first pick of the draft. His mom and dad went to school here at Troy, and I've known them for many, many, many years.
In fact, I would not doubt if Cooter Swanson had not recommended you to Chase Riddle. Then y'all all playing these summer leagues together?
Cooter was a little older than I was. He was aware of that, and that was some of the connection because Cooter was up kind of in the area I was over in Georgia. But they're fantastic people, and Dansby is a great representative of that program, certainly. And I hope he has certainly a long, prosperous major league career.
Cooter Swanson still helps send players to Troy.
He does. I see him every summer, and he's all about Troy. He loves Troy, and Dansby will tell you, and whether he's actual or not, Mike, you never know, but Dansby will tell you, if he hadn't gone to Vanderbilt, he probably would have come to Troy because he always loved Troy. His mom and dad went to school. He'd been down here.
He heard.
He loved Troy, and he was a really, really high-end player, and I'm glad it worked out in his favor.
Mark Smart, ladies and gentlemen, the head baseball coach at Troy, and of course, I treat him like he's just that baseball player I used to watch so much. But your life grew up watching every Brave game that came around.
Every one of them.
You went to every game, didn't you?
We were there all the time, and Mike, it's different. I've been in Alabama now since 1985 when I first came to Troy. I've never left. But growing up around Atlanta, around a pro sports town, the Braves, the Falcons, the Hawks, the Flames hockey team.
Yeah,
it's different there versus Alabama. Alabama doesn't have that pro
that's
team.
Right. It doesn't have the pro.
So I was exposed to professional baseball at an early age and was quite taken by it. And it's unique growing up in a college town. Our young kids here, are exposed to college athletics,
which is good.
And there's nothing better than growing up in a college town. You're exposed to so many wonderful things. I grew up in a pro town, so I didn't know any athletes. I didn't get to go meet athletes. We got young kids that are on our field on Sundays shaking players' hands, and it's a great place to be, the college setting.
And of course, hey, here's the guy with the biggest smile in Atlanta, Rico Cardi.
That was some bad baseball teams back when I was a kid.
Hey, and it was a home run derby. Everybody wondered why Hank Aaron hit so many home runs.
Chief Nakahoma came out of the teepee all the time when they homered.
Right. But Hank Aaron hit all those home runs by breaking his wrist.
He was special.
But it was a home run derby there, wasn't it?
Well, people don't realize, Mike, Atlanta was the first team in the southeastern part of the country that had Major League Baseball.
That's right.
St. Louis was just about as far south as it went. So it was an experiment moving Milwaukee down to Atlanta. And it took a long time to get everything situated for them to be a real viable organization, and Hank Aaron had a lot to do with that.
Well, you were a young boy. You would have had to been a young boy, but you and I were at the same place. Hear this, Will. You and I were at the same place, the All-Star game in Atlanta. Do you remember that?
I do. And
how old were you?
Boy, Mike, that's dating me now. I was a
But I was at that game. Me and Bo Gaylord and William Davis and 2 or 3 other people drove over there to the All-Star
Well, again,
game.
it was a big deal, professional baseball in the Southeast, and that's why Atlanta has a wide fan base, Mike, because they were the only team.
Right.
I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of older people that grew up in Pike County, Troy, and they grew up Cardinals fans because they could hear the games. KMOX, they could hear the games.
St. Louis Hawk basketball.
That's exactly.
Bob Pettit.
They were that was their connection pro-wise, and then when the Braves kind of came in, you started seeing people from Alabama and Tennessee and South Carolina kind of become Braves fans.
But I was who is this? I was a switch hitter fan named Mickey Mantle.
Oh yeah,
that
was before my time.
But you know what?
I know all about them, but I didn't get to see those guys.
You could only watch pro ball just on
Saturday. Game of the week.
Diddy Dean and
That's
Pee Wee
right.
Reese. And,
That's right.
The chart says product of the Brewers Arc.
Some good stuff.
That was do you even remember Diddy Dean?
I do, because I listened to some of those games when I was a very young kid, and I remember my dad talking a lot about him because he was a character.
That's right.
I certainly didn't see him play by any means, but those guys had fun back then.
All right, now, when you came here, and, of course, you played on 2 national championship teams, in 86 and 87. He played second base. I think he batted 300 both years.
I did. I had 2 good years.
400.
My first year I hit over 400. My second year I hit over 300.
Well, you're a pretty good baseball player yourself. Hey, if somebody told you that he batted 400, even in Little League, you would have thought that was unreal, wouldn't you?
I was a pitcher, Mike, so I couldn't hit worth a crap. I was a good pitcher until I got hurt.
Same thing that happened to him happened to Herb Score.
Really?
You remember Herb Score?
I don't remember seeing him pitch. I know the story behind his background.
Gil McDougal hit a line drive.
Right. Changed his career.
A guy hit a line drive and changed Will Matthews' career from baseball to golf.
No kidding. No kidding.
That's right. I was a pitcher, and I was 14, and I was they let us play back then. If you were 15 years old to 18, you could play. They called it Pony League travel ball.
Right. Yeah.
And I was 14, but I was going to turn 15 during the season, so they let me play. And I was pitching, and a guy hit a line drive and hit me right between the eyes. I was unconscious for over an hour.
That's happened to a lot of people.
Well, it's dangerous, Will. That age gap at that time of your life, that's a big gap. A 16, 17, 18-year-old kid's much more advanced, stronger, bigger than a 14, 15-year-old. So that's tough.
One thing we haven't mentioned was that old baseball field in Ozark. How many times have you taken teams to play in?
Many times. It's still there.
That is a hard home run.
It's still there. That used to be Class D baseball down there.
Chase played there.
He did manage the club down there. It's a kind of a historic venue, they've done a great job maintaining it. They host a lot of amateur events down there now. Mike. Host the junior college state tournament.
You've been there many times.
So they've done a great job maintaining that and having a baseball presence.
But you had to hit it a mile.
That was a big ballpark, no question.
Big ballpark.
No question.
No question about it. Will, thank you so much for calling.
Nice to visit with you, Will. Have a good day.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you very much.
And of course, Mark Smart's here, and we've been running around the corner. And of course, before we move into it a little bit, when you came here, who were some of the guys in your recruiting class?
Well, I played the class ahead of me, the senior class. My junior year was kind of the bell cow class that really showed the way. Mike Perez, Ron Warren, Wendell Stevens, Vince Kindred. Those were some really, really good players. Of course, Mike and Ron were the two best pitchers.
Mike Perez and Ron and Ray, if you had those three pitchers today, you could win a World Series.
We would be equal or better than anybody. That's the truth.
You could win a World Series.
That's the truth. That's how talented.
Ladies and gentlemen, you would have had two of the top left-handed pitchers in the country. One out of Jacksonville. Both of them out of Jacksonville.
No, Ron was actually from Atlanta,
okay.
and James Ray was Jacksonville.
Did you and Ron? Did y'all grow up playing against each other?
We played against each other. We never played together. We played against one another.
And ladies and gentlemen, there's a story behind that. You remember these things, but you can't help but remember Ron Warren. He's a little left-handed pitcher. Wasn't a big guy, but was really, really good. And they were playing Auburn out at the Riddle Pace Field before it was named Riddle Pace Field. Pace Field. And, they were giving Bo a hard time. Bo.
That was the year before I got here, Mike, and I've heard that story countless times from everybody involved. And Bo hit a ball that hadn't landed yet, and all kind of crazy things.
But he struck him out for three straight times.
He did.
He struck him out 3 straight times.
And if I'm not mistaken, again, I can't witness this, Ron handled him, and then I believe another pitcher came in bullpen that actually gave up the home run.
Well, and what was happening was he had gone the wrong way against Alabama. That Bo goes the wrong way, and they jumped all over it, and that every time he came up, wrong way, Bo, wrong way, Bo. And ladies and gentlemen, he had struck out 3 times, and I think it got to him for a little bit, and he hit a line shot over the right center field.
I've heard the story many, many times, and people that they don't realize how it's been many years ago, just how good he really was in baseball. He forewent football to play Major League Baseball, and he got pulled off the field his last year of college because he flew down to Tampa to meet with them about football draft, and that made him an ineligible baseball player. Bo Jackson. He missed the last part of his last year of college baseball because they ruled him ineligible. And it wasn't about a little over a year later, he's playing in the major leagues. That's how good he was.
Auburn was coached back then by a guy from that coached here in Troy for several years. He's from Greenville. What was his name?
Paul Nix.
Paul Nix. And something Chase always said about Paul Nix, of course, Chase Riddle, one of the great guys of all time. But he said, you can say anything you want to about Paul Nix, but I'll tell you one thing, he'll play you.
That's right.
Even though Troy would beat Auburn, Nix would always play you.
Yeah, and you appreciate that. And back then, like I said, Mike, it was different. Division II wasn't in a different setting as much as it is now. We don't play any Division II teams now. Not because we wouldn't, because it's just not set up that way.
Exactly.
And we played a lot of Division I teams in the 2 years I played, and then the 2 years I coached, we played several because they would play you back then. Now they just don't have the opportunity.
Gotcha. Now, when you played second base, who was your shortstop?
Well, I played with 2. My
and
first
they were always a good shortstop.
Oh, well, we always had good play. Jose Torres was year one, and he could really throw. And then the second year was a first-year guy named Lou Henry that came from Pensacola Junior College. And Lou was a lot like I was, a little undersized, but he could really hit. So I played with 2 different guys.
Then there was another one, and I wanted to say he was from Atlanta, but I might have been wrong. But they came in from everywhere.
Greg Frady was here my first year. Yeah. Greg was a senior. He's
the head coach at Georgia State.
He's the head coach at Georgia State. They're actually coming to Troy this spring. I look forward to hosting them.
Y'all still pretty close friends?
Oh, certainly. I, of course, know his wife, who's a Troy graduate, know all his kids. They're wonderful. And
it's just really a huge family, and, of course, these guys really stay in touch with each other. Of course, the national championship teams of '86 and '87. But let me tell you this, and they've got these Hall of Fames and everything. If Jude Rinaldi don't go in there, they'll do away with it.
Well,
Can you ever remember
I would agree.
One player took over a tournament.
Not in the '87. It's funny you say that, Mike. Fortunately, this year's Troy Hall of Fame class, Wendell Stevens is going in.
Yes, and I'm so glad.
And I am too, because not only did I play with Wendell, I I've been doing this. This is my 30-plus year of college baseball, both as a player and a coach, and I've been around very few hitters that were as talented as Wendell, and I've been around fewer that had the ability to deliver in the clutch like Wendell.
Exactly. The home run heard around the world.
Wendell took over the 86 series and was the MVP, and then Jude Rinaldi dominated the 87 series.
And the thing that jumped out to me so much about Jude Rinaldi was he was hurt.
He could barely move, Mike.
You know, the Kirk Gibson deal, he was very similar to Kirk
If you watch the post, when we recorded the last out in 1987, and Jude had hit the 3-run homer in the 7th inning to give us a lead that they came back and tied it. We got a run in the 9th. So the last out of the game was a ground ball to third, and Steve Eaton threw the ball over to Jude at first base. So then the celebration begins, and Jude starts jumping up and down. Mike, he could barely move. His knee was shot. He was getting off the ground about that much. Of course, he was elated, so he didn't feel anything. But when you watch that tape, you realize that guy was hobbled doing all he did.
Was that against Tampa?
It was. Tampa was 87.
His best friend was the first baseman for Tampa that played for how many years?
Tino Martinez, probably about a 15-year Major League career.
But they were best friends. They grew up, played first base.
They grew up in the same area, and of course,
Dunedin, Florida.
Martinez went on to have a great career, but that was just really good baseball. Division II baseball was really good back then.
Well, let me tell you this: Division I baseball is even better, and I'll tell you this: not only with a great facility and of course the great tradition of baseball, kids still want to come to Troy to play baseball, don't they?
No question, and we live in a really great baseball area, Mike. Not only locally in the Wiregrass, but you talk about the state of Alabama, the Panhandle of Florida, which we've been heavy in for many years, the state of Georgia, which I came from. It's really, really good, and we're fortunate to have a chance to recruit really good players.
Coach, first of all, we wanted to talk about, of course, you coming off of what I thought was a pretty good baseball team last year.
We weren't bad, Mike. We didn't score enough, and when you got into that scenario where you got behind, it was a challenge. We didn't finish the year like I had hoped, but we returned a lot of key players from that ball club last year. We've got a very experienced team, and what I would tell you, Mike, is based on my years here, when you have an older, more experienced team, you have a better chance to win at this level. You really have to have some experience. It's very hard to win with youth at the Division I level. So I like that part of our team. I can't wait to get the season started and get them out there and let them go figure out how to win some games. And it's a process that'll start Friday.
Baseball has changed so much. You very rarely ever see anybody go 9 innings.
Right.
Even in college, you very rarely. The most important pitchers now are the setup guys, the middle relief guys, and then the closers.
A lot different than when I played.
So when you go out recruiting a pitcher, you're not just recruiting a guy that is a dominant pitcher for 9 innings. You got to find a guy that can get people out.
I would argue, Mike, that most games now are decided in the last 3 innings. The first 6 you're jockeying for position, but the last 3 innings are critical. And typically, the starters are out by then.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does turn into a bullpen
Now,
game.
when you go out there, though, and of course, when your pitching coach who does a great job, and I just think the world of him. He's been in our program for a while now.
He has.
But he goes out first. But then when you go out, and I know a lot of them are saying, "Coach, don't take me out. Coach, leave me in."
Mike,
so you hear all kinds of stories, don't you?
I told our pitching staff yesterday or day before, one of the last 2 days, kind of how we do things. And I said, listen to me. I want to tell you something. There's not a pitcher I've ever coached that didn't want to pitch one more inning or face one more hitter. I promise. I know that.
That's right.
So when we make a decision, please don't ask or beg for more.
Usually
when
you come out, he's gone.
The decision has been made.
Have they ever talked you out of it?
Well, on occasion it's happened, Mike. And I tell you who can do that. It's kids that have been in the program for a while that you trust and they know what to expect. A freshman could never do that. But
Tanner Hicks could have done that.
He could have done that. We've had many through the years, but it's that older guy that knows what he's trying to accomplish.
But what I'm saying, you're not just recruiting a pitcher. What I'm saying, they're good at different things. I mean, he might be a great pitcher for 3 innings.
And those guys, and we do see that more now, Mike. Again, you don't see a lot of complete games even at the high school level as much as you used to. And kids don't throw 120 pitches anymore. They throw 75, 80, 90 pitches. Well, heck, in a 9-inning game, there's no way they're going to throw 9 innings. So your team really is only as good as your bullpen. And you see it at the major league level, Mike. You know, they've got heavy money invested at the end of the game. You got to have good starting pitching, certainly, but you got to have guys at the end that can get you out with a game on the line. And I would argue that that's more challenging than the first inning.
I tell you what, it's great baseball. I mean, let me tell you, this baseball now is a very equivalent to a Class A or single A.
I think a low-level minor league for sure.
I mean, really,
the kids are more advanced. They're stronger. They're bigger. They're faster. The game, I think, is faster now than it was, say, 20 years ago. It's very highly competitive, Mike, and these kids are really highly motivated players. And Division I baseball is entertaining, exciting. It's still gaining momentum. The college baseball product is on TV more now across the board. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I hope our team can achieve some really good things this year, and we'll
Coach,
find out soon enough.
I know the first thing somebody's going to ask you, and of course we were talking about it before we came on the air, was Chase Smart, your son. How's it been to not only watched him grow up and work with him as much as you could, but you were busy. You were on the road. A lot of people saw him play more than you did.
No question. That was the only drawback from my job, is I didn't get a chance to watch either of my children, my daughter Taylor or my son, play as much as I would like to have had. My wife was there as often as she could be, so I missed a lot of those things. Now, the fact that I'm around him every day now is certainly great. I'm seeing him grow up in a true move from a teenager to a young adult, seeing him gain more responsibility. Mike, he's a better player now than he was in high school.
And he was a great high school
Not everything shows that all the time, but the age, the experience, you're better. This will be his third year in the program. I think he's prepared for a good season. He's healthy. So I look for him to be a guy that can help lead our team as a veteran player.
Will he stay at catcher? Now,
he will. He's
some at third, and he can play third.
Yeah, he can play third. He did some as a freshman. He did not play third last year. I could see a scenario this year where he might have to play it a little, but primary catch, and he's our best defensive catcher.
He still got that gun. He still
can
throws
throw. He does a great job handling pitching. And, Mike, if he gets a chance to play professionally, which I certainly hope him and all of our kids can, the main thing that will get him to pro ball is his ability as a catcher.
Now let me say something, Coach, and this is personal, I know. He was born with a hearing defect, and which is not easy to overcome. Tell us how y'all have dealt with that.
Well, a lot of credit
this is from the ground floor.
A lot of credit goes to my wife, who was in the trenches with him at a young age. We began that process.
I mean, he was born with this
problem. Yes, we began really in earnest when he was about 16 months old, and he ended up having a surgical procedure that allowed sound to come into his device. But yet, Mike, and I equate it to he was 2.5 years old when he first understood what sound was. So he was like a newborn child at 2.5. A sound doesn't mean anything. Amazing? It's just a sound. Yeah. You don't know what it is. So he had to fast track and learn how to interpret that sound, and then interpret that noise, and then interpret that word, and then learn how to speak that word. It was grueling for him as a young. He went to therapy in Birmingham once a week. Now, we lived in Livingston at the time, but he went once a week for an hour and a half per session.
It's really good that you were close to him.
Very good, and so my wife, invested all of her time and energy in that. And then Chase has overcome that in a positive way. Chase doesn't look at it as a drawback or as a
Does he still have a problem with it? Has a lot of it he outgrown?
He'll never outgrow the loss. He has to wear the device to hear. He wears it when he plays. The only time he doesn't wear it is when he's asleep.
Coach, the reason I brought that out, I know that's a personal thing and something y'all, but I think it's great for other people to know that you can, where you probably at one time said he'll never play sports.
I never dreamed.
He never played football. He'd been a great football player.
He would have easily dropped everything to play football, but wasn't allowed.
He had that football mindset.
He loved the game, and he wished he could have played.
Hard-nosed guy, you know.
No question. But I never dreamed that he would accomplish some things that he's done. Not only as an athlete, but advancing along in school. He's in his third year of college. He's done fairly well.
Coach, he'll walk out of his way to shake your hand.
He's a fine young man.
He's a young man, and you can just tell he appreciates you.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that, Mike. That means more to me than him getting a base hit or trying to win a baseball game. But, I go back to I was raised the right way by two wonderful parents, and I've tried my very best to do that to my two children. And I'm proud to get a compliment, not about my son as a baseball player. That's great, but when you talk about something like you said, he'll go out of his way to say hello to you. That's the type person you need to be.
Yeah.
And Chase is going to have success, Mike, in whatever he chooses to do, because he goes about it the right way. He learned perseverance and resilience at a young age.
Yeah.
He couldn't hear right. He couldn't do things like that.
Until it bothered him. It doesn't seem like it
now
bothered him.
he just there is no issue. Never makes it as an excuse, and so I'm really proud of that.
Now you call all the pitches usually, don't you?
Well, our dugout does.
All right, so
Chase does call some pitches in our program, and I think that's because of his background.
Well, and of course he sat at the table with you all those years.
Mike,
too. Those breakfast tables.
He knows as much baseball as a college junior probably could because he's been around it ever since. He's a lot like Logan Pierce, Bobby's son. Logan grew up around baseball, so he was a smart baseball player. And all those coaches' kids have an opportunity to learn more at a young age.
They really do, no question about it. Of course, Chase Smart will be the catcher, and of course, it's so good to have my good buddy Joey Dennison back, and he's like family, Coach.
Proud that Joey's
raised that boy.
Proud that Joey's healthy, and it was a terrible injury he went through last year. He tried to play Mike, and he had a wrist problem that he couldn't swing the bat, so we had to call it a year. So he gets a second chance to be a senior, and Joey is a real business-like, real determined young player. But, man, he's got a positive look about it. He can't wait to start. He's ready to get back on the field.
You're on Today in L.A. with Coach Mark Smart.
Hey, I was just trying to call back in. I had to get the babies out the door for daycare. So.
Mike, you've known who Mark Smart was all your life, haven't you?
yeah, pretty much. I think
You reckon we've seen him play a little ball over the years?
I'm 41, so I would imagine I probably saw a pretty good bit of every Troy baseball team from probably about 81 to present. So
I'll tell you one of the things that I am most proud of, and I don't know, somebody might break it over time, but I do own one record that means a lot to me. I don't own very many, but this one means a lot to me. No player or coach has been in the Troy uniform for more games than I have, and
isn't that amazing?
It's well over 1,000 now.
Isn't that amazing?
And that means a lot to me because Troy is the place I love, and I'm so proud to be here as the coach, and all these many years now with Coach Pierce first. But maybe somebody does that long term, but the fact that I've been in the dugout and in uniform more than anybody means a lot.
Nobody would appreciate it more than Chase.
Well, one of the proudest days that I had was when Coach Pierce gave me the opportunity to come back and work for him in 2002, and I remember calling Coach Riddle to inform him that Coach Pierce had offered me the job and I was planning to come back, and he had such pride in his voice to know that I was going to be able to come back and be a part of the program, and being around him those 10 years or so before he passed away, Mike, I treasure those days. I really do. And
he was just like another father.
He really was.
You and your dad were very close.
Very much so, and he was just such a genuinely nice man.
Weren't your parents awfully pleased to know, of course you lived in Atlanta, the big city, grew up in the big city, been around ball all your life,
right.
But weren't they proud that you played for a guy like Chase Riddle?
No doubt, and because that's the kind of person you want to play for, that does everything the right way, treats people with respect, and one of the joys of coming back was just getting a chance to sit and talk with him. And back then he was able to come to some games. We talked players and baseball, and Mike, he forgot.
Well, he's the only coach, and I won't get off of it in a minute, where you go to UAB or you go to Jacksonville, you go to Mobile to the South Alabama game, and this happened all the time, ladies and gentlemen. After the game, people would be lined up. I'm talking about 15 and 20 yards long, just to shake Chase Riddle's hand. I've never seen that.
He had a special way, and part of it.
You know what I'm talking about,
Part of it was he was from the region. He grew up in Columbus, Georgia.
That's
and,
right.
He signed professionally, but he went to school at Troy, and he married a local
Even at
girl.
Auburn, they'd line up.
Everybody kind of knew Chase Riddle. And, I've said this before, that was not his given name. His given name was Charles, and he picked up the nickname Chase.
That's right.
But he was the first Chase that I had ever been around. Nobody had a kid named Chase when I grew up. Chase Riddle. That was a really catchy name, and everybody knew him by Chase.
Yeah.
And now everybody's named Chase. Hell, he's got my son. Everybody's
exactly right.
A bunch of kids. Cooter Swanson's oldest boy's named Chase.
Exactly right.
And you see a lot of other ones, but he had a really good name. But most importantly, Mike, and the reason people went to him, he treated you so.
Exactly right.
You were so important to him.
You always this clears that up. He was like you were his. He treated you like you were his best friend.
Everybody. It didn't matter how much.
That you imported.
The older he got, the harder time he had remembering names. But he never forgot the person. He might not remember your name right away, but he knew who you were, and he made you feel like the most important person in the room.
Exactly right. Joey Dennison, of course, Michael and I, one of our favorites because he was such a great football player. I mean, he's a linebacker in football. He's as hard-nosed a player, I reckon, as you ever.
Joey does have that football mentality. And at one time, and I think Joey would admit to this, I think he had aspirations to play college football, and he was good enough to do that. He was a heck of a linebacker. He's a tad undersized for the big game and all that, so he migrated to baseball, and I'm sure glad he did. My first connection to Joey, Mike, goes back to 2004, 2005, when Chase was in that age group. They were playing on a tournament team that ended up winning the World Series in Auburn as a 9 and 10-year-old team. And I spent a lot of time with those kids, do a lot of batting practice to them. David Dickey was the coach, and he had some other, Mike LaCroix was coaching, Ken LeBrant, some really good people. Mabry was on that team, and a lot of really good kids. But that was my first time, and I told this story to a reporter the other day. I'm throwing BP to 9 and 10-year-olds, and as I'm throwing BP, all these kids are jumping around. They're not, except for Joey. He was waiting to hit, and when he got in there to hit, it was all business. He's 10 years old. He looked like a college hitter in terms of getting ready. And I thought, man, this guy, he's really intense. Like I said, the other as soon as they walked out of the cage, they were cutting up, laughing like 10-year-olds do. That's what So Joey was different, and he still got that same intense.
He had some pop to your lineup.
No question.
I mean,
losing him last year hurt our team, Mike, because he was our best hitter on last year's team, and he just couldn't perform after the wrist injury. So I'm proud that he's with us again.
How does that work, Mark? Is that a medical red shirt?
He got a medical red shirt. He did not participate in enough games, and the injury ended his season. So he was fortunate to get a year back. Now he's a fifth-year senior, and quite honestly, he's never looked better. He's in great shape. He's healthy. He's in a great place mentality-wise. He can't wait to get started.
Where will you play
He'll play the outfield, mainly right field, and he's become a better outfielder. But I know all our guys are ready to play, but I know for sure Joey's ready to play because he had to miss last
All right, you got another kid that grew up in Troy and will pitch some this weekend, won't he?
Rush Hickson, local product, graduated from Pike Lib, but lives out in the Banks community. His family been there
Lives
for
out in
many
the middle
years.
of a cow pasture.
And they're wonderful people. And Rush is scheduled to start the Sunday game at 1 o'clock, and he's had a good fall and a good preseason. Rush I'm excited to have him back. And people that know Rush will agree as soon as I say this. Everybody kind of migrates toward Rush. He's got a great personality. He's done that already with our team. Our team loves him. So I look forward to getting him out there on Sunday and getting his first Troy appearance behind him, and hopefully he can have success.
You're talking about a competitor. He is a bulldog.
Mike, he's got that kind of similar to Chase a little bit.
Yeah.
He's smaller in stature, so he's got a little chip on his shoulder.
Yeah,
he
that's
plays
right.
with a little
And you
attitude.
like that.
No
You
doubt.
like that.
Hey, look, if you don't have an attitude,
Hey, God, that old boy, that guy out there trying to strike you out, trying to humiliate you.
If you don't present that, then they'll run over you
Exactly.
in baseball. So, but I'm tickled Rush is with us, and I believe, Mike. I don't want to predict things, but I would think at 1 o'clock Sunday there'll be a lot of people from that Banks community in the ballpark.
No question about it. Does he throw hard or does he mix?
He does. He actually throws pretty hard. He throws 88 to 90 miles an hour, and he's got a really good breaking ball.
Coach, the biggest exaggeration in the world, I would say the first, Mike, is speed, how fast somebody is. But I think the biggest exaggeration in the world is how hard somebody throws a baseball. Hey,
90 miles an hour is pretty quick. Not everybody throws 90. You don't have to throw 90.
It's God-given, too.
It is, and you can work on some things. But it's kind of like a fast runner, Mike. If you're not a fast runner, you're never going to be a fast runner. You can be a better runner, but you're never going to. So if you don't throw 95, if you throw 85, you're never going to throw 95. That's just not the way it works.
So, out of all your years of coaching, I'd be curious to know, like, who was the hardest thrower you ever coached?
Well, the hardest one we've ever had here.
Did you ever have a 98 guy?
Well, Tony Falls was a pitcher in 2004 and 5 from Montgomery, Lee High School.
Yeah.
He hit 97 on the radar gun a couple times, and he pitched more 92-3, but he juiced it up there one day. We've had a couple guys at 94 and here and there, but you know what I equate velocity to, Mike, is what you can consistently pitch at. You know, touching. You know, if you throw 88 to 90 and you throw one pitch 93, you're not throwing 93.
88 is real fast.
No question.
And 85, 86 is fast, isn't it?
So most of our kids are going to pitch somewhere between the 86 to 88, maybe 89 range, a couple 90s. Now, one thing we are going to do this year, as long as it works, we're going to have the radar reading on the scoreboard at home games.
Oh,
and
man,
we've never done that. And that's kind of a unique thing for the fans. And so there won't be any line. If a guy's throwing 84, can't nobody say he was throwing 90.
And, you know, I sit in the same place, been sitting there for 20 years, 25 years, maybe longer than that. Probably longer than that. I no telling how many times I've hollered down to your guys that are working to get the pitch.
What was that?
What was that? Hey, they'll be glad that they finally got something.
Well, I think it's, and I'm not even really sure why we haven't done it before, Mike. Our scoreboard has it. We always record that information, but we'll have it on the scoreboard this year, and that'll be a nice thing for the fans to enjoy.
How many Troy baseball games do you think you've been to in your lifetime?
I don't know, but you know, did you hear what he said?
He's probably been to more than I've coached. I can promise you that.
Did you hear what he said just a while ago, Mike? He's actually been a part of how many Troy games?
It's well over 1,000 now. I lost track.
You know, he's as a player or a coach, Mike.
You know, this is my 16th year back. I was a coach 2 years when I finished playing, and then I played for 2 years. So in total, this will be my 20th season as a whole, player and coach in Troy. And no one else has, been here. Coach Riddle was 12 years. Coach Mayotte was 12 years. Coach Pierce was 13 years. So I've had a longer tenure. That's why I've had more games.
You know, every now and then you'll have a player.
Before Chase, I guess all I can remember is Chase because I was born in '76.
Well, the coach right before him was a guy named Joe Hollis, who was actually gone on to. Yeah, well, he did. He's gone on to great. He was a big-time football guy. He was a head football coach in Division I. He was an offensive coordinator for
Georgia and
Ohio State. So he had a more lengthy football career. And then prior to that, I don't know for sure, but it was a mixture of people. There was a couple years here, a couple years there. And I think what happened was I think Dr. Adams, chancellor at the time, and Robert Earl Stewart, athletic director at the time, I think they finally made a decision to hire a baseball coach, not a guy that coached football and baseball. And their target was Coach Riddle, and somehow, some way, they convinced him to take that job.
And then Ralph Adams and Chase were social friends.
And I think it was. I think Dr. Adams was the person involved. It might even have been before Robert Earl became the official athletic director. So I think Dr. Adams made the effort to bring Coach Riddle in and say, we need a baseball coach.
They had 3 bats when he got there, and it didn't bother him one bit. I mean, he
needs one.
Hey, he didn't care how you looked. All of them had different colored jackets.
Yeah, but that's the way it was back then.
They had to wear their junior college jacket. You'd see a purple one, a yellow one, a green one, and a thing. You know what I did one time? I went through the stands one day and said, let's raise some money for a jacket. And I bought those black jackets that said Trojan across there and gave them to every player. For the first time ever, they all looked the same.
You know, it's funny, Mike, and I say this with all due respect. Back in those days, money was hard to find for everybody. But I would tell you this: if Coach Riddle had wanted to, he could have raised as much as he ever wanted to. He would never ask.
They could have had more than anything.
He would never ask. He would never extend that. But he could have raised thousands and thousands if he'd have put his. But that was just not his style.
The whole city would have gone right behind him. Because he was our golden boy, no question about it. All right, Coach. Right now, Chase always said down the middle is what counts. Shortstop, second base, center fielder, catcher.
Good news there. We've got a 3-year starter behind the plate with Chase. We've got a 4-year starter at shortstop, a young man named Matt Sanders, who's played a lot of games for us. Brandon Lockridge, who was our second baseman the last 2 years, we've moved him to center field, and he's a terrific athlete. He can really run. And then Drew Frederick, who was our third baseman last year, has moved over to second. He is a really good athlete. So, Mike, I really believe in that middle section of the field where you have to be strong. If you're not strong defensively there, you're going to struggle. Yeah. I really like the experience and the ability of those guys up the middle of our team.
Who'll play third base and first?
We've got 2 new guys, 2 junior college kids. A kid named Sadler Goodman will play third. He'll also pitch a little bit. And then we got a big left-handed hitting first baseman by the name of Cole Prestegard from up in Huntsville.
Is he a pull hitter?
He is. The wall looks close to him. Mike, I hope he hits a bunch of homers.
You and I have been can justify this because I've been to many a game. Even though it looks like it's awfully close, it's hard to pull the ball in that ballpark.
It is.
Why is that?
Because the other pitcher is not going to let you pull the ball because it's
so
close.
Conscious of it.
He's going to try to keep it over there to make him hit it to left field. No question.
Now, I could probably tell you a few guys that played back when you played.
I tell you who used to pull it pretty good. Dave Banks.
Yeah, well, Dave played right before I did, and Dave, they tried to emulate Dave Banks when they brought in Glenn Willis, who was the same type
body. That's exactly what I was going to say, Glenn Willis.
6'4", 6'5", left-handed hitter, had some pull power. So they had Dave Banks for 4 years and then Glenn Willis for 4 years.
And before him, they had the old boy from Baker, Florida, that coached in Pensacola down
Keith Bragg.
Bragg
had some pull power.
He was one of my favorites.
He could really hit.
That's right.
He could really hit.
That's right. But you had just 2 or 3. But these guys come in there, though, from other schools and say, oh, man, we fix to have a field day. But with that wall, it's not hard.
No, it does. But this kid, I think, has got a chance to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's a good size. He's about 6'3". He's a physical kid, and so those 2 juniors will play an important role. And
left and right field.
We'll have, of course, Joey will be in right field. I mentioned Lockridge in center, and then left field will have a combination of players, 2 or 3 different guys. It'll kind of play itself out who gets hot.
What do you think about your left field fans out there?
Mike,
do they affect the game at all?
I don't know firsthand. I don't know firsthand because I can't hear, but the comments that I get back from them, and I think they do. They certainly have a positive effect on our team.
They got the radio going.
They listen in.
They hear everything.
They listen in, and I think they have some fun with the left fielder and the center fielders. And on occasion, they've had an impact on an opponent who gets caught up in what they're doing. I think it was a great concept when Coach Pierce decided to keep that area open versus a wall because it's allowed people to sit out there. And Mike, when we play, of course, if we host Alabama or Auburn, which is always our biggest crowd, that place is jammed out there.
Sir.
And it's kind of open-ended. It goes all the way over to George Wallace, so you can get as many people out there as you want.
And of course, kids running around playing.
And that's what I like about it, Mike. when you bring young kids, and if you have to sit behind home plate, you got seats, you got concrete. They can't run around and play. But boy, out in left field, they can do whatever they want.
Mike, hear this. Are you still on?
Yeah.
Hey, do you know we had somebody on our show the other day that never played cup ball? Hey,
Man,
you were raised playing cup ball, wasn't you?
That's how you learn how to play
Mike was
sports.
my son Mike was a great cup ball player.
You know the best thing about cup ball? The kids figured it out. It might be an argument, a fight. It might be whatever, but at the end of the day, wasn't no adult interrupting that.
And
deal.
if
That was
there's
all
not a
kids.
cup ball game going on behind the stands,
Those are better games than the ball game going on.
Exactly, and what I'm saying, Troy provides everything, but cup ball is take the cup and wad it up, and you throw it, and you hit it with your hand.
Cup ball was one time we were playing Auburn, and we stopped because Bo Jackson had gone to the bathroom and come back and started signing autographs outside the dugout.
Well, that's a fair reason to quit the game. But let me tell you, man.
All the players would have to leave and go to the concession stand and go to the bathroom.
Let me tell you, I think one of the issues today with young kids, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, it's just different. Young kids don't play games on their own. There's always supervision. There's always an adult organizing. Some of the best things I ever did was out in the yard with a bunch of kids, figuring something out to do. Go figure out how to play a game.
No question about it.
So
you
it's a
played
little
ball, you played stick
ball.
Played
it all. Whatever you could find.
Exactly right. Of course, how do you like this team?
I really like the experience, Mike. I really like. I think we've got a determined group. I think it's important. We've got a very difficult opening season. We play 4 games at home. Any 4-game series is tough. Then we go to Auburn on Wednesday. Then we go to Florida State on the weekend for a 3-game series.
And that game at Auburn is going to be a lot of fun. And then Florida State, a 3-game series. You don't have a better mecca for baseball.
That is one of the premier programs in all of America, led by the coach, Mike Martin, who at some point this year, he's going to set he's going to be the winningest coach ever in college baseball.
Coach, I remember him getting down on his knees, throwing dirt on home plate. Do you remember that?
Back years ago.
Were you playing in that game?
No, I was not playing in that game. But I tell you, it's going to be a great that second week of our season. Auburn and Florida State, those 4 games. Whatever happens, we're going to learn a lot about our team, Mike. Whether we win or lose, I think that's second nature. We certainly want to win and expect to win, but our team's going to go through some difficult times there and figure out how to win on the road. We'll be better for it going into the rest of the season.
Coach, you got UAB coming in. Your middle of the week games are
all in-state teams.
Exactly. You won't get any better than that, including, ladies and gentlemen, in Birmingham, a game between Mississippi State and Troy at the
Hoover Met,
which will be a.
Hey, late in the year, Mike, back-to-back Tuesdays, we play Mississippi State at the Hoover Met, and then our last midweek game is Auburn here on Tuesday, our last Tuesday of the season.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
So those are 2 really great opponents. We play Auburn early in the year and then again late here.
Now you play Alabama up there.
We do go there one time this year. And
they might not want to play them. You beat them so many times at Livingston. When you're at Livingston,
well,
you beat them almost every time you play them.
We've had good success there, and I'm just glad we get a chance to play them. They don't have to play us, Mike. They choose to,
right,
so I appreciate them playing.
Yeah, and then they got a local guy coming back.
Absolutely. Chandler's senior year, and I hope he has a great senior year.
You got Coastal Carolina coming in here.
That's a great series. Of course, we finished the year with South Alabama here in Troy this year. And, Mike, it's a good schedule. I'm proud of it. And
well, Coach,
I hope people will come out and enjoy
I'll
our
say
team.
something right here, Coach, that is unreal. For $95, you can see 33 baseball games.
It's really a great deal, Mike. And if you've got a family, if you got young kids, you're not going to find a cleaner, pure entertainment value.
Good food,
good venue, good people.
Hey, the 7th inning stretch.
You're going to get to meet great people around you. You get to meet our players if you stay. So I hope people take advantage of it, Mike. I think people in Pike County are fortunate to have a Division I athletic program in their backyard.
No question about it.
And so I hope you'll come out and join us. One last plug for me.
Yeah.
Today, 5 o'clock, Troy Softball Complex,
That's
Troy
right.
versus Auburn. Not because my daughter's there, which is great, but if you haven't been to a college softball game, go. You'll love it.
It's a huge game. Coach, thank you so much.
Glad to be here, Mike.
Mark
Had a
Smart,
great time.
the head baseball coach. Of course, we talked about a lot of different things, but you feel like you got the pitching to be
Can't wait, man. We're ready to roll.
You like it? Ready to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, they open the season this Friday night. What time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, and you'll have a game at 6 o'clock on Friday, 1
1
o'clock
Saturday.
1 o'clock on Saturday, and
1 o'clock
1
on
o'clock on Sunday to open the season. Then travel over to Auburn on Wednesday, and then Florida State. And it's not a long trip.
Love to have you down there supporting the Trojans.
Support the Trojans. And again, thank you so much for being on our show. Mac, I just realized that Mac was back there. Mac Lowry, the pastor of Calvary Baptist Church, my church, is back there, and we're going to go to breakfast. Is that all right, Mac? And ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much to Mark Smart. Hope you've enjoyed our show. You can watch it again today at 1:30. 1:30, you can see this show again or pass the word to your friends. Troy baseball is on the move this week.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah, you're right. Happy Valentine's.